Again, so welcome to this month's Cosmos SDK community call. We're the region team is sort of convening these to have a forum, both to give the community updates with the engineering roadmap, as well as to have a forum to discuss, to discuss both the process and the function of getting an amazing SDK together. There's a lot of focus right now on Stargate, so I'm sure that will be a lot of the conversation. But Dean from Agoric had suggested also that maybe there'd be some community participation in ensuring that there's agenda items. I didn't see any community agenda items in the agenda that I socialized in the Discord channel, which is fine, but it is out there. We'll publish it every week beforehand so people can throw things in. And if you'd like to put stuff in or just raise your hand after we run through a quick update, please feel free. So the way that this call went last time is I'll hand it over to Corey, who will give a quick roadmap update and just sort of like a quick presentation so that we're sort of level set about what's happening with the SDK team that Region is a part of. And then we'll open the floor. We'll run through a couple other agenda items and then open the floor up for questions, comments, concerns. So yeah, with that, I'll pass it over to you, Corey. Would you like me to share the presentation that you put together?
Yeah, I can do that as well.
I'll make you host.
Cool. Okay, let's see. Can folks see this?
Yes, we can, Corey.
Still? Okay, cool. Okay, so what's new? Launchpad has been released. Oh, wait, this is the wrong deck, isn't it? Oh, no, that is correct. Oh, I think I just, okay, cool. This first slide I had not fully updated. So this 3 bullet points still more or less remain the same, but the content of each has changed. So Launchpad, we're at this point in time, we actually have 039.1 released and out. I'll share a little bit of updates on that and what's happened there. Stargate, at this point in time, yeah, we had been shooting for a mid to late August release candidate. We are now at a point where we were hopeful at the beginning of this sprint that we just started on Monday, we were hopeful that maybe this sprint we would have a release candidate out. Some of the work that we're doing on migrating the pub keys for base account to protobuf is just, as with many things, taking a bit longer than expected. So that might get pushed into next sprint for a release candidate. And then I'll have some time to talk as well about the status of things beyond Stargate that we're looking at. So 039.1 is now released. If you are a chain developer and you are running an 038 or 037 chain, it is strongly encouraged that you upgrade to Launchpad. Launchpad, the 039 series is intended to be the kind of last pre-Stargate stable release of the Cosmos SDK. It has some pretty significant bug fixes, as you may remember from our last call, around how IAVL was doing pruning. And in particular, 039.0 was released actually with some significant issues around migrating to an 039 chain, and it functionally just like was not working. So there was a bug, an oversight on the actual release that went out on our side. And shortly after, we got a 0.1 release out, so an 039.1, which fixed the migration issue that was present in 0390. It also bumped to Tendermint 0.33.7 and added the ability for REST servers to have to add unsafe chorus flags, which was a feature request that some folks had been asking about. So that is the status of Launchpad. It is out there, and yeah, you should be able to download and check the release notes as well in more detail. For Stargate, as an overview, the main components again are the protocol buffer migration, the introduction of IBC, the single application binary, and also the upgrade daemon, which has now been merged into the SDK, and also a new test util package for in-process integration tests. So in terms of where we're at, we actually have a release candidate tracking issue now that you can take a look at. That's 7152, which is tracking the final remaining issues and PRs for us that are necessary for us to get an RC out the door. A summary of where that's at. It basically splits into 3 main chunks. One is the final steps on the Querier migration. We're wrapping up the gRPC gateway server there and adding Swagger for the gRPC REST endpoints. Those are currently in process and being led by our collaborators at Vitwit, in particular, Anil and Atish have been working a lot on that. The second piece is adding protocol buffer-based pub keys into base account. This is connected to decoupling the pub key references from Tendermint's usage of pub keys, as well as the request for extensible address formats and the ability to support multiple different types of pub keys as documented in ADR 28. So this piece is one that is being worked on in collaboration both from folks on our team. Marie currently is leading that effort from our side, and Sahith, who has recently joined the Tendermint team, is also contributing to this. Unfortunately, there have been a couple of hiccups in where it's necessary to actually require and depend on pub keys from Tendermint. And so that is causing us to take a deeper look at this issue. But that's kind of the last sort of piece on the protobuf based pub keys that's necessary. And then as a third kind of large point is the updates for Tendermint 034. We have a pull request that just got published by Eric from the Tendermint team for state sync support. So that's currently in review. Arbitrary initial height is a feature that was added in the most recent version of Tendermint, and we've then added support of that into the SDK. Amari from our team has been working on that, and that had hit some blockers in the past few days, but I think is unblocked now, and so should be getting merged in the next day or so. And then the next issue, which we will be tackling, which has yet to begin, but it shouldn't be too difficult, is returning app hash from a init chain. That's also part of our Tendermint updates that we need to make to be fully in sync with 0.34. And then once all of these pieces are done, writing the migrate command so that we have a way to sync from an exported state, or to get from an exported 039 state to a 0.40 compatible state. These are the remaining pieces for a release candidate. Again, our hope was to be wrapping it up this sprint, which just started on Monday, but the pub key work is one piece that is seeming to be a bit more involved. And so it might, that may cause us to have to push it into the beginning of September. Beyond Stargate, so the Rosetta ADR, which we had talked about last month, has been closed. There was a lot of comments on that ADR, but I think that the result was that, well, if this isn't something being contributed directly to the SDK repo, it's probably not necessary to be an SDK ADR. All in Bits has kind of gone forward with prototyping and implementation in a new repository. I do think that there is a bit of, it seemed like there was still some not full alignment on how that implementation would work, but this is just to note that anyone who is interested in Rosetta compatibility for the SDK, don't be expecting that work to be done in the SDK repo right now. Jonathan and Alessio are actively exploring this still, but just in a different repository. So make sure you're looking there. if you're wanting to stay close to this work in any way.
Yeah, sorry, just chiming in very quickly. Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
I can give a quick update when you're done. Don't worry.
Cool.
Because progress is being made. Thank you.
Yep. And then IAVL now has a gRPC API. This was something that it was a community feature request from Foam, from Martin, from the Foam team, who are also the developers of Kepler, the Haskell-based Cosmos SDK. And yep, this has now been merged, which was a nice new feature. And we also added a new column to the Cosmos SDK project board called Meta Issue Backlog. This is our loose way of tagging kind of larger scoped features that are slated for potentially after Stargate and have been posted there to kind of prompt initial discussion and conversation. So in particular, there are 3 that are in there right now. One is key and fee management work. Another is improvements related to the XAuth and XBank modules. And then a third is improvements to the storage layer of the Cosmos SDK. Aaron kind of created those before going on vacation this week as a placeholder where we can sort of facilitate larger community conversations about these 3 projects that at least our team is seeing as kind of top of mind for work after Stargate. So if folks are interested in engaging with that, those meta issues are kind of the best place to take a look. And yeah, in general, we're definitely looking for community input, not just on these, but also like larger scoped feature requests or proposals for things that we should be thinking about for the SDK post Stargate. If you want to create an issue and just ping me to say like, hey, this is a really like high level or important thing that, you know, from our team's perspective should be getting looked at, I'll make sure that it gets highlighted and kind of like discussed accordingly. So yeah, with that, I'll stop sharing and kind of turn it back over to Gregory. Yeah, I don't know if there were parts that you had wanted to walk through outside of this dev update, but I also know that Fede had said that he could maybe give a brief update on the IBC stuff. And then, yeah, let's add in some time for Alessio to also talk about Rosetta.
Yeah, I think we should just hand the mic over to Fede for IBC update, and then pass it over to Alessio for Rosetta update.
Yeah, I'm particularly interested in this IBC update. I'm gonna have a couple questions.
Hey, Jack.
Oh, what up, Fede?
Yeah, regarding IBC, we made huge improvements over the past 2 weeks, particularly in migrating the whole IBC module state into protobuf. And now we also finalized all the migration to gRPC during these last couple of days. There were some inconsistencies also between the naming of evidence and the misbehavior of light clients. So that for that, we're planning an ADR to reflect the current state more than anything, not really to like implement sort of like something else, but to document why we're only considering one type of evidence for freezing light clients and not the other evidence types from Tendermint. Yeah, we also implemented ADR1, which defined how like the problem that was the prefixes for the tracing of IBC denominations that could potentially grow abundant, and also supported like special characters which weren't supported by DSCK coin validation. So like instead of that, we decided to hash the trace information that the trace information from an IBC denomination that got transferred over multiple chains, and use that as the denomination that will be that will be displayed by clients on balances on the SDK based chains. And yeah, that I guess that pretty much summarizes everything. The outstanding tasks, I would say the largest one that is close to completion is the height for IBC upgrades and the implementation of ADR 26, which is being handled by an external contributor. For context, ADR 26 outlines how would clients unfreeze with governance votes. And yeah, like once a proposal passes, then the client would be updated with a new valid header. And thus the funds that were previously locked would be unlocked after that proposal passes. So yeah, pretty much that.
Cool. Thanks, Fede. Questions?
Yeah. Fede, if I wanted to start migrating the relayer over, where's my integration target? And should I wait for the gRPC gateway stuff?
I think for the relayer, you were mostly using REST, not CLI commands, right?
No, I was using the 26657 RPC endpoint, so no CLI commands or REST server.
I mean, all the queries and transactions already have the implemented gRPC gateway annotations, but I'm not sure how it works. I haven't yet tried them myself. Probably Corey has a better understanding of the wiring of the gateway.
But for the 26657 endpoint, though, things shouldn't have changed substantially. And if I'm importing most of the Go types, it should like just work.
As far as I know, not really. Like it should remain the same.
Okay. Do you mind sharing with me a branch or commit that I should start integrating the relayer off of?
I think master is the most stable one.
Master is the most stable. Okay, and is that I'll sync with Zaki to figure out where Gaia is. Thanks,
sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, ping me or send me a DM if you need more.
I have a couple of Akash deliverables that I'm working on this morning that will probably start this afternoon.
Sure.
So one thing that I'd like to so as I understand what you're talking about is the legacy RPC endpoints, the amino JSON RPC endpoints.
This is whatever Tendermint serves at 26657, which is the Tendermint RPC, which I believe now uses prototypes. But
yes,
I don't have a good understanding of what the migration
that will be the case, I believe. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how this works, and I'm just going to kind of have to get in the code. And now that it sounds like we have a commit that I can work off of, and things are substantially stable there, it's time to start integrating.
Yeah, we did a bunch of refactorings as well and moved types here and there.
Saw a bunch of those land last week, so glad that I waited a little while longer too.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Great. I'll start on that today or tomorrow.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
I'd be curious, Jack, just to let's sync at some point, because I'd like to understand how the decision is made as to whether you're pulling straight from Tendermint or whether you're using any of the other provided SDK endpoints. And maybe there's a reason for that, but I just
happy to talk about why we made that architecture decision. So when I started working on the relayer, the available interfaces were the REST server, which is an extra piece of infrastructure to spin up, was always underdocumented and never, quite frankly, did what I wanted it to. So the only other option as far as getting data out of the blockchain is the 26657 Tendermint interface. So I implemented the relayer entirely directly against that. That integration point also ensures that it works with all other chains fairly seamlessly, and we're not relying on this shim piece of software. That was the only interface available when I started the migration, when I started the relayer. So I didn't have the affordance of the gRPC interface. I do have, as part of the contract for the relayer with the ICF, plans to migrate that over to the gRPC interface as soon as that's available. So I think the initial version of the relayer that will be able to shuffle packets back and forth will be implemented off the 26657 interface, and we will migrate over to the relayer, the gRPC, as soon as that's available. That migration will not affect end users. So
great, makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, that substantial reasoning there. Do you need?
You know, I was just getting context for the bigger picture was good. Yeah, thank you.
Does it make sense to pass things over to Alessio to share a little bit about what's going on in the Rosetta?
Very interested in Rosetta.
Hello, everyone. So regarding Rosetta API, so the Tendermint team, the AIB team is actually working on a public repo under the Tendermint GitHub organization. The code is there. So fundamentally, what we are trying to do is a minimum viable product in order to demonstrate the usage and so that people can start using it. The original intent was actually to target this work for Stargate, but because of the issues that we encountered with gRPC and points, then we fundamentally did the work on Launchpad. Now, there are a couple of issues. I agree that these should be incorporated in the SDK later on. I totally agree with that. We're just trying to move as quickly as possible and deliver something tangible as quickly as possible. The problem that we have been encountering, even with the original plan to actually separate library and a binary, why did we want to do that? Because we wanted to give application developers the possibility to integrate within the same binary provided by the application, the Rosetta API endpoints, but also we wanted to give the developers the possibility to actually build a separate binary. Because it's doable, it's possible. That's why, fundamentally. So the work is nearing completion. It's actually nearly ready. The team banged their heads against the Go, Get, and versioning opinionated system as it's quite impossible to utilize different versions of the same Go package. So that's why at the end, the work will be integrated with Cosmos SDK anyway. When we deliver the PR, we also deliver the specifications. So, we do believe specifications and code should go hand in hand, right? And so we'll deliver an ADR and the code, which is, like I said before, almost complete. Thank you. But we accept feedback. We welcome feedback of all sorts in the repo. We also are very keen to open, to give access to the repo to any community contributor that wants to do some work on it.
So a question that I have is, where is the best place to, as the issue for the ADR was like, as I saw it, an artifact of like what the actual design plan was, and that has been closed now. Is there a design specification in like a markdown format that lives in this new repo that you're working on that people can see and contribute to? Or what's the best way to kind of stay abreast of what the actual like design strategy is for this work?
That's a very good question indeed. Thanks, Corey. The team was sharing some talks and design notes on a Google Doc, and really today it's okay. Let's prepare to publish this in a Markdown friendly format. So they're preparing the work on a HackMD document, and we will share the document as soon as it's in a shape that could be read and understood by others. That's right. There are specifications for the API. The team is working on both things together.
So just one quick question regards to the Rosetta API. Why was the decision made to support 039 initially? My understanding was that the whole motivation behind the Rosetta API was that it was for Coinbase support for the ecosystem.
And for the hub.
And for the hub specifically. And the first asset that needs that is the Cosmos Atom. And the Atom will be at 040. So the really kind of critical rush here is to support Coinbase for the Stargate update. And just wondering, yeah.
Good question too. Thank you, Jack. I think the motivation was to, we acknowledge the demand from the application developers, they're ready to launch, but that's why we kind of made a judgment call, to be fair. But however, the work, actually I didn't clarify this before, again, thank you for the question. The work to migrate, to introduce support for Stargate and the hub is actually very, very little once all the rest is in place. And the architecture, the code organization will have to be reviewed in the repo. So the repo organization, the directory structures will be refactored quite heavily shortly. But the hub support will be ready. We can even do the work in a separate branch or even open new repo. So that's not a big deal. And the changes fundamentally are well, very few. So it's not a big deal. Just prefer to target who's running applications on the latest stable release, because we acknowledge some demand from them. That's why.
Totally, yeah, banned, I would imagine. So that's great.
But now if you look at the code, and please, if you want to have a chat with us, with the rest of the team, we're very happy to guide you through the repo and show you, how little will be the effort to actually port it to 037.
Yeah, so, interesting. That's interesting. We're going to be launching Akash mainnet with 040. So, I'll just stay up with the repo, and when there's Stargate support, I will.
I totally agree with you. I agree with you. We should start the work on the hub as soon as possible. The problem is that once we deliver the work, things might change, because the specifications of code must be reviewed by, at large by the team, by the SDK team. So before actually implementing for the hub, we want to submit the code for review, specifications as well.
Also, want to have a finalized version to test against, which I totally understand. So
yeah,
we're just not there, and yeah.
Correct.
Excellent work, and I'm super stoked that you guys have taken that on, and it's going to be a huge boon to the whole ecosystem. So
if you want access to the repo, if you want to create branches, just shout, and I can give you access to the repo.
Yeah, for sure. I'm probably 2 weeks away from being able to usefully utilize that, but
fair enough. Don't worry. Thank you.
And sorry, and if someone wants to have a call, as Alessio said, to just review what we have and everything, I can guide and show. No problem. It's no secret. It's public in the end. So if you want some clarifications of what the decisions we were doing and why we do this in a specific way, so you can just come and we plan a call or whatever.
Great. Corey, do you mind making the slideshow public?
Yep. Sorry about that.
No worries. And I'll put a link to the slideshow in the notes. These notes will be we'll just, keep filling these same notes out. We're at the 30-minute mark. If folks want to continue engaging, that's totally fine. There's plenty of conversations. We also want to respect everybody's time. So, I think all the agenda items have sort of been gone through at this point. So, yeah, I'd be happy to sort of conclude the call for this month. And as I said, I'm also happy to sort of keep the line open, because there may be several conversations. If folks would like to, if you've got questions, comments, concerns, of course, the major forum for engagement in an asynchronous way is the Discord channel, which is where, I'll also be posting the notes, and we'll post up a link to the YouTube in case it's useful for some, a member of your engineering team who wasn't unable to make this, or, some other reason. You just maybe you just want to, you know, listen in while you're going to sleep at night or whatever. Cool. Well, if there aren't any questions or comments, we'll call it a wrap. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.